All right. Well, welcome to the Canz Scan class, where I will take
Hang
you
on
through.
just a second for you, sorry. Are you running the Panopto?
I am.
Doing?
It's fine.
Did you put it on, or was it
Yeah.
already on there?
No, I put it on.
It won't be there if you restart it. You should have.
No. I've got my own machine, so we're good.
It's your machine?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I make no.
Right.
I bring all my own choice. So no surprises in the middle of this presentation.
Careful now.
Hell yeah. This is gonna be a little bit long. It's kind of in 3 parts because it's got kind of the Epson scanning software, Photoshop kind of image cleanup, and then the Acrobat actual PDF creation. So this is probably really more like maybe 3 sessions put to one. I'll kind of just start walking through it, and if we kind of get stuck and hung up in one, we'll just kind of end it there and we'll catch up in another session. Does everybody kind of know where to start the Epson scanning software? It's usually an application that's kind of on the computers that have scanners attached to them. Here it is already launched and going. One of the first things that you're going to see is this kind of settings panel that comes up. And it doesn't really change once you set it once, but 2 of the things that you're kind of really going to want to watch for when you're doing dissertation scanning, or really any scanning, but I'll kind of just talk through for dissertation, is right over here where it says like image type. Right now I've got it set for grayscale because all dissertations are black and white, so that makes sense to put color in it, just make the files bigger. And then resolution.
That's not true.
True, actually, I know. I just grabbed a book to use, and there were colored dissertations in there. So,
they're scanning
with graphs. So, if it were to be color, and you would kind of know because you could look ahead. Actually, I think, did I pick one? No, I only picked one that was only black and white, too. But you would change the color model, usually probably to 24-bit color. You don't need 48. But all it really does is it adds color, and then it'll be a bigger file size. Typically, the resolution, I like to always scan twice what I want my final output to be. That's why I've got about 600, because usually my final output will be about 300. That way I kind of know as it starts degrading by going through all these processes, it's going to hopefully not go below the 300. I was told that they sometimes like to do 400 too, so I'm going to do 400 because it will go faster. The higher resolution you go, the slower all the processes will go. So, but just remember, usually kind of like double what you want your final output to be. All the other settings you really don't need to know too much. This unsharp mask works really well if there are maybe graphics. You're talking about there being probably color in some of the graphs. So that's where you kind of get the moire effect because some of the graphics are printed and you kind of could see kind of the grain in the graphics. The unsharp mask should kind of fix that a little bit. It's going to try to. I'm going to leave it off because, once again, I know the dissertation I'm doing is black and white. It doesn't have any color graphics. But any other photos, if you're getting them out of a magazine or anything, unsharp mask is usually a good thing to have on. That being said, kind of go through the preview. It's always good to know on your scanner what side is top. And every scanner, I've kind of noticed, is a little bit different. I know what mine is, so I took a big black marker and wrote top on my scanner, because it's no fun to have all your scans upside down. And we could do a dissertation. Don't worry, I only got a 4-page one though. Looked really hard for that. 4-page dissertation. It's an article. Okay, so it's in the scanner. I've got the top facing top. I'm going to hit preview. Pretty good. You guys see, you kind of get little marching ants lines. That's kind of like where the last time I scanned, where it was. So it usually stays in the same place. Once again, something that doesn't change, which is good because if you're going to do multi-pages, you're going to try to keep putting them on the scanner bed in the same way. And you could skip the preview part once you kind of get into a flow and you know that you're going to constantly be getting everything and not kind of cutting off the edge. So you might want to make this a little bit bigger than what you think it should be. So it's all in there.
What did you just, when you say bigger, that should be?
Oh, just kind of these marching ants little thing, the selection. Because I'm going to keep trying to put this page in there and not kind of do the preview every time, because you can just keep hitting scan. And because that's not going to move, but because I keep turning pages, it's going to slightly move a little bit. So
So sure, I have a question about that
Sure.
too. So, that actually, you can actually change the area that you cover that way, or?
yeah, like if you only wanted to do like say this small little graphic down here, like you would just kind of drag this over and just, and this, it would be nice about this is it'd be a much smaller file size, and you know you would only have like that graphic scan.
I think my problem is I'm having a hard time seeing the cursor and that you're actually grabbing anything.
Oh yeah. You just kind of click right on the edge and you're
Go on
drag it like a little selection box. Yeah, and if you get the corners, it's nicer because then you could go both up and out. If you get like just the side, you kind of can only go one way. And that's one of the things too. Once you might want to set it kind of big, kind of get like a lot of the table, because if you're kind of flipping through page after page after page, you don't want to keep doing it and keep adjusting it every time. You want it to just kind of be in there. Other thing, this little folder down here, kind of in the settings, it's going to tell you where the scan's going to go once you scan. Click it. You choose a place that you want to put it. Usually I'll put something in the documents folder. I'll call it like dissertations or something that makes sense to me. And so it's going to be in a folder called dissertations, which you could kind of choose. And there's some there already. And then usually I'll take like the person's like last name or something, like we got like the last guy here, like Ram. And it's good to put his last name on there or her last name, or just because you know that all these scans are going to be appended with that name as well. I usually like to reset my counter back to like 001 because it's going to auto increment up every page. So start with page 1 of the dissertation, you start scanning. It's going to be page 1, RAM 001, next one's going to be RAM 002, RAM 003. That's going to make that a little bit easier. JPEG is what I've noticed people like to do for these dissertations, so that's kind of what I go with on that. You can do other things. Scanning directly to PDF is kind of nice, but since these are going to need some cleanup, we're going to go to PDF after we do a little cleanup. So we're going to take them straight from JPEG images. All these setting boxes, chances are they're good to have and they're good for you to kind of learn what they do, but to kind of speed up your workflow and make things happen faster, you're probably going to want to end up unchecking them all, because overwrite any files with the same name, you probably don't want to do that because you could stop. Show this dialog box next time you scan, because that means the next time you scan, you'll see all these settings again, but because they stay, there's no need to see this dialog box anymore. Open the image folder. You don't need the whole folder to know that it's there. You just kind of trust that it put it in the folder. I mean, in the beginning it's good to know, but you're going to keep closing that folder over and over again, so you don't want to close that folder anymore. And show the add page. No, we don't want to. We know that we're only doing 1-page scans at a time. So we hit OK. And that's settings. Then over here, and I have no idea why they put this in white text, but it's the big scan button that you could barely see. It almost looks like it's grayed out in that you're not supposed to click it and nothing would happen. But that's the button you want to click and makes the scan. This is when you wait. This is where having that resolution set down a little bit kind of speeds things up. I will do, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 pages of this document. One, so you can see what the second page looks like when it gets scanned now that all the dialog boxes have been pretty much shut off. And it's kind of how much faster it goes. And 2, when we compile it to the PDF, I'll have more than one file to kind of compile. So this is a good time. Any questions?
Sherman, I kind of like Terry Lynn's idea of maybe turning the overhead lights off. Do I have a smart camera?
Can't try to.
Old eyes.
Less than a minute.
I'm hoping the next round will go a little faster too, because I think a little bit of that time with my light warming up on my scanner. Good. There we go. So that's done. It's in there. It didn't open up any of the windows. It didn't say success. It didn't do anything because I pretty much unchecked all those things. And now go to page 2. And I'm not even going to do a preview because like I've got that marching ant thing to be almost the whole screen. So there's really not any much bigger I can make it go. So I'll hit scan again. It still says 2 minutes. And this is where kind of been told by people who do this, you know, do the dissertations, the students and stuff, that this is kind of the meditative part where they just kind of will just sit down and go page after page and just keep hitting scan page, scan page, scan page. It's not hard. You just kind of,
If you're scanning a color photograph, what resolution do you put it on?
I would probably go up to 300, or I mean up to 600, because you'd want the final output to probably be about 300.
If it's only gonna be on the screen, and you know it's always gonna be on the screen, then you don't have to really get it more than 72, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you knew that was the case, I'd still probably scan at 150, just being that, once again, that's kind of double what the final resolution is going to be. Because any manipulation you do, you know, changing its size, tweaking its color, you're going to get, you know, a little loss of quality. And at that point, 150 is like nothing.
Used to fix people's PowerPoint slides presentation, they'd have them all scanned at 600.
Yeah, well, that kind of comes down to optimizing too. Once you get to the end and you get to a PowerPoint, you should really go through your slides and kind of make sure you don't have anything crazy in there.
That's not the page you scan.
No, it's still showing the preview of the first one because I'm not redoing like the preview. And this, you know, kind of could come back and get you because maybe you've cut off a paragraph or so, like the whole like half inch of a scan. It could happen. It probably will happen. Maybe we'll just do 3 pages. And the other good thing is, once we kind of get this done, then we're pretty much done with the scanning. So that's kind of part 1. Kind of maybe show. That's really weird. My timer. Okay. So that being said, they are done, and I believe, let me just double check in here, that they are where I think they are. Okay, so they're in my box sync. As I was wondering why my box sync was syncing the whole time while I was scanning. That probably would have made it go a little faster too, if that wasn't happening. That's good to have it up. Now it's backed up forever. And just to kind of show you they're there. Dissertations. So they're kind of the 3 files. RAM 1, RAM 2, RAM 3. RAM 3 is still syncing. Like I said, that's pretty much scanning. So, like I said, this would be a good place to stop. Any questions on more of the scanning settings or like that? I know with that scanning time, you were able to ask them kind of while we were doing it. All right. Well, then I will move on to Photoshop.
So yeah, so you have the document size at 7 and 10, 7 something 10. Is that for?
I think that manipulates when you are adjusting the little marching ant window.
Oh, okay.
I think. Yeah, all that kind of moves around. Yeah, and there would be different ways to do this too. Like, you know how I always wanted to do double? I guess you could probably put here where it's scale, you could probably put 200 and then actually scan to the settings that you wanted. But, you know, it's kind of, you know, many ways to do the same thing. I usually don't deal with target size, so. And really, unsharp mask is the only one that I'll put on, and that's only if I'm scanning pictures that have been printed in a book that kind of might have that pattern to them. All right. Well, that being said, I'll close down Epson Scan. Now for part 2, Photoshop. What I'm basically going to do now is I'm going to open up all those JPEGs, and even if the dissertation was 50 pages long, 50 slides, I would open them all up at once because that's just, Photoshop can handle it. It's got RAM, and it's going to load them all in because you're going to be doing the same process on each one, so it makes sense to have them all open. Just multi-select them in the open pane. And there they are. Oh, good. One's a little crooked. That's what I wanted. But, and now I'm going to look through my slides. And like I said, hopefully none of them got chopped off too badly. But one did. The second page itself. And the second one. So maybe preview would be a good thing. We'll pretend like they were perfect. Or, better yet, what I'll do is I'll just reopen my personal ones. So once again, I got 3 little pages, 1, 2, and 3. And they're not actually too bad. They're pretty darn close to straight. Actually, I don't want these because they've already been color corrected. So if we were in the scanning software, we could have done the preview and we would have known we didn't slice them off. But they were due. Over here, there's like 3 little dots. First thing, this is going to be to kind of correct the skewness of it. It used to be a little measuring tool, a little measuring ruler. They hid it. So this is kind of where you find it now. 3 little dots that are extra. You kind of click it and hold down. And if you scroll down, you'll see this little thing called ruler tool. This is pretty important because it's going to set the angle that your rotation is going to have. So it's one of these things you're kind of preparing to cook here. And what I like to do is I find like a long, straight edge, kind of like of this, like paragraphs of text, because you know that's a really long, straight edge, even longer than one that goes across. Because the longer the line, the better, because it's going to be more accurate to be. So just click on the top corner, drag down to the bottom, and try to make that exactly, as exactly as my eye could see it. And I click it. And you say, nothing happened. Not really, because what it did is in the preference, it set that angle as kind of the default angle now. So now when I go into here, like I think it's image, rotate image, arbitrary. When I hit arbitrary, that number is going to be set as the default. So that was kind of what you were setting when you didn't think you were doing anything. And then there it is, it's like 0.21. And you click OK. And it just kind of straightened it up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, could you please do that again?
And
Because
I've got 3 files, so that's good.
perfect.
All right, this one's good because I'm going to do it now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start recording what I'm doing because, well, now we'll get to that later. But see how way crooked this one is? Once again, I'll come over here. My ruler show is already selected, but if I wanted to, I'd click, hold down, go over here, get the ruler tool. Now, I'd come here and take this long, straight edge. One, I'd hope that the file had all the text, but it doesn't. And just kind of put it on that side again. Let go. So it set that angle in the default. Go to image. We're going to rotate the image. And it's going to be arbitrary again. Arbitrary is because we're going to use what the default was set. And this time it's 3.62. And that just pops up. Comes in fill. You could change that number, but why? Because we just measured it and we know that's what we want. So if it was there, it'd all be there. What I'll probably do, I'm going to undo it on this one, just because I want to kind of show you kind of what's going on with just file number 1 first. And then the big thing that actually cleans up these photos and makes them really good is what's called image adjustment and threshold. This is where you're really gonna make the PDF, make the image real clean. And this is gonna be good when it goes into the Acrobat. It needs to be OCR because it's gonna really be able to recognize these letters. Click it, and see that it just went to pure black and white. That's all it went to. And you get this little dialog window here that kind of make it all black or all white. And you really kind of just have to guess in the middle and kind of find what you think looks the best. Usually it tends to be kind of where this little histogram starts going up. Because if you go here, the whole document is black. So if you go here, it's like, like maybe 15% of the document is black. And that's probably a good sign that that's probably the text you want. And so that's kind of black and white. And I think I'm even going to take it down a little bit from there. You hit OK. And then it's, much cleaner. And you can kind of see when you go between the two, it's kind of grayish and a little bit blurry. Now it's real crisp, black and white only. All right. And really, from that point, you would just save it again as a JPEG, and it's good enough to go take it into Acrobat and made it into a PDF. What I'd like to do now, though, is just kind of back through those steps a tiny bit. And now it's kind of back to how we first opened it. I'm going to start by making an action that's going to make your life just, it's going to take all these steps, take them away. Over here, there's a window, and there's an actions palette. Open up that actions palette. I've already got mine open, so it's right over here. There's a little, hey, why are you doing that? Oh, we're going to make a new action. So over here, create new action, little thing in the bottom. I've already got one called threshold, so I don't know, we'll call it, I don't know, threshold 2. And you could decide what folder you want to put it in. I've got a scanning folder, so I'm going to put it in the scanning folder. You could leave it out in the default one, the open one, and then hit record. And you've got a little red light on, so now it's going to start recording everything that you're doing to the file. Which is kind of nice, because now I'm going to go, once again, get the measuring tool. Going to straighten out my image. Image, rotate, arbitrary. Hit OK. And I'm also now still recording. I'm going to go to image adjustment, adjust my threshold. And that's
So it lines in on that line you drew?
Yep.
That's a straight line and you move everything too.
Exactly. So you want to kind of eyeball that straight line to be as straight as possible. Threshold. You can kind of bounce it up. All right. And what the other really good thing to do with here now is to actually go through and close it too. So you're going to do File. You're going to save it. And hit OK. And then you're also going to close. So you're going to go File and Close. And then, so your recording's done now. So now you hit Stop Recording. And basically you built an action that had all these things in here. You're rotating it, you're changing its color, you're saving it, and you're closing it, all in that action. And then there's one little thing, and this is kind of good that I learned. If you check any of these off, the action won't run. It'll skip that step in the action. But there's also another little column that's like a little dialog screen. And that's a real good one to check for the angle, because the angle is going to be different on each one. So we're going to click the little angle rotate. So we can see by this being set here, when it gets to this step, rotate, it's going to say, hey, I need a dialog box here. So, all right, so we can see we've only got RAM 2 and RAM 3 open. And now, next thing I'm going to do, take that image, that ruler tool again. I'm going to draw that straight line. So that's kind of set the angle in the default kind of setting. And then I'm going to go up here with threshold 2, and I'm going to play it. And when I play it, it's going to ask me for that dialog box, but it'll automatically be filled in with that number I just set now. So I'll just hit OK. So it's like boom. See the dialog box popped up because it just kind of came down to rotate. I know it's 3.7 because I just put that in. I'll hit OK. And then it adjusted the color, saved it, and closed it. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to run the action. Once again, the dialog box packed up. You have to kind of do that because each one's different. Otherwise, if you ran straight through, it would use the same number every time. That would be the number. Then we'll hit OK. And boom, done. All right. That's the end of Photoshop. The action. So that's the end of part 2. But that was by far the hill. That was the mountain of doing this. Like getting over that, this building it next is easy. Any questions on that? You got to go through it 3 times. It seemed to make sense. All right. Bye-bye Photoshop. Now to Acrobat. Like I said, the Photoshop was definitely the mountain in there, cleaning up, building the action. Photoshop or Acrobat really tries to make life easy for you. What it's going to do is you're going to go up here, launch it, kind of have a file you're going to want to create. And what you're going to want to create is, I guess it's called a combined files into a single PDF. And basically, we're going to take all those JPEGs we just cleaned up and we just made nice and neat. We're going to convert them all into one PDF. So when you click that, you get this big window where you just are supposed to start dragging files. And we know that we saved all those files into my Dropbox, into the dissertation folder. So I'll go grab those again real quick. And we know because we did the auto incrementing of the numbers, we know we've got page 1 through 3. Just drag them in there. And then boom, 1 through 3, they just automatically go in order. If they're not, you can drag them around and change their order, but you don't have to. And from here, you're going to click combine the files. Oh, and typically it'll say, hey, I recognize text in here. Do you want me to OCR it? That's typically what will happen, and then you hit yes and everything is good. It's actually a good little feature now that it didn't do that. For some reason, it didn't recognize that there was text on this file, because Acrobat's crazy sometimes. What you're going to want to do up here is go into your tools, and you're going to want to enhance the scan. And when you get in that, enhance the scan, you got this new ribbon that just popped up. There's one called Recognize Text. In this file, so about that. Once again, all pages. I think all the settings are pretty much kind of almost defaulty. They have all pages, downsample, yeah. So you can leave them kind of default. I'm just going to hit Recognize Text. Once again, this might take, I don't know, a little bit of time. It's kind of doing each page one at a time now. But what's nice about this now is now all this text is selectable and editable and all that types of good stuff.
How about color photos? Is there a special thing like this for
To
text with photos?
text with photos, I mean, depending if it's like fancy script or something, it might not understand it. But if it's kind of just clean, white text over it, it should see it because it's trying to analyze the whole document. And like this is set in Garamond, so it knows Garamond is font. I was really surprised when I combined it. A lot of times it will say, hey, I recognize you have text in this file. Do you want me to OCR it? And you just hit OK, and then you're done. But this was good because it gave me the opportunity to show you how to do the OCR if that doesn't happen. And from there, you're good to go. File, kind of save as. Typically, I'll take the person's name again, like Ram, and because I have all those 00 alls and everything, I'll just put all. And there, you've got the dissertation done. Close it, put it up on the staff server, go on to the next one. All right. Any questions?
Great.
Thank you.
This is kind of off topic a little bit, but if you have a document that you receive maybe as a fax or something that has little black marks, just random places, is there any easy way to clean that up rather than just going in and?
Well, it's hard. Like if you got it from from a fax machine or something where it's black and white, that's really kind of tough to do automatically because the black value of that black mark is probably the exact same value as the text. I mean, you take the little eraser tool in Photoshop and start tapping them all. I mean, you could try with threshold. You might be able to get it if its value is a little different. But I know a fax machine is just pure black and white too. That's kind of like why there's still this side edge from the shadow. It's like I could have cleaned that out if I wanted to, but it doesn't really hinder anything. So just make it that much more perfect. All right. Well, we got through a 3-part session in one session. So